and I was living on a friend's couch, and my kids were relatively young. And but then I thought, okay, we'll run for politics. And so I got my ex-wife, come on, let's do this. Let's take a crack at it. And so I sold my business as an investment advisor. I ran for politics, but then what you don't count on is I went into it thinking I was going to win, and I did not. I lost. I had a lot of faith in this blue wave that never transpired. And then what do you do? All of a sudden you realize that I was already separated with my wife before, and crazily enough, when you work together, this didn't cure everything. So we separated almost immediately. When you run for politics, the first thing they do is they send a camera crew to your house, and they were like, look at Jeff Bennett, he's perfect. He's got perfect children and a perfect wife and house and everything, and they take these pictures. And we had already been separated for a while, and I remember my ex-wife being like, this feels like a load of shit. And I said, oh, it is. That's what they do. And then after you lose in the election, there's nobody there waiting. And then what am I going to do with my life? And for 20 years, I had told myself, I am Jeff Bennett, father, husband, investment advisor. And then all of a sudden, I was none of these things. I also had said future politician, and now I was not. I was a failed politician. Now, I'm fortunate. I have a big group around me. So somebody contacted me. A friend of mine owned a company. Said, "I'd like you to come work for me." And I fell madly in love with a girl. She was 10 years younger than me, and if this could become any more stereotypical of a midlife crisis, it did. But then I treated this girl very poorly in the beginning, and so because I was like, I had this image to uphold. Oh my God, I can't be seen. We can't be seen in public together because people think I'm a successful investment advisor and politician, and they can't know that I'm like. So how I managed to? What girl doesn't want to hear that? I can't be seen with you in public. So I ended up in a long-term relationship with this girl, but of course I was lost. I had no idea what I wanted to be or do, and so 2 years later, I made my new image. I'm none of those things anymore, but now I am Jenna's boyfriend. That's my role in life. And that doesn't work either. That's not something you should be putting on your to-do list. But that's what and then sure enough, right after I decided that was my role in life, she said, I'm breaking up with you. And then that left me in a spot where I was like, holy shit, now I have nothing. I had a job, but I wasn't enjoying it. I was miserable. So I started, what a lot of people would do, I retreated into my shitty downtown apartment, and I drank and smoked a lot. And I got to a very bad place. So much so that my ex-wife was like, I'm worried about you. The kids are now. I was still showing up. I was doing a radio show. I was going to downtown Toronto, speaking in front of boardrooms full of top executives. I was making appearances, but behind the scenes, I was struggling mightily. And it eventually peaked at a point where Jenna was like, she called the police because she was worried I was going to do harm to myself. And then they showed up at my apartment and they were like, what's going on? And I was in a bad state, and they said, you should talk to somebody. And then I decided, my problem is I'm not happy with who I am, but I have to be authentic, because authenticity is my thing, and I've preached it for years. And so I went home and I made a Facebook post about all of this stuff. And I put it out there. And then about 5 minutes later, I was like, oh fuck, that was a mistake. But it was too late. 10 likes, 20 likes, 40 likes, 80 likes, 200 likes, and then it was shared by the mayor of London, and it was shared by former and then it spread like wildfire and whatever. And everyone was like, and then it got to my mom and my aunts, and they were like, we're coming to London, and everyone was like, Jesus, Jeff's in trouble. Now I'm very fortunate. I have this huge support system around me, and all these people sort of swarmed to my rescue, but I still didn't know what it was that I wanted to be, and everyone's like, you gotta find you. What is it that Jeff wants? And I regret that I still to this day, this was a couple of years ago now, and I still struggle with what I want. And I ended up getting back together with the girl, crazy enough. And I trudged forward, and I had all these people rush to my rescue. But after I'd made that Facebook post, I was most taken aback by all the dozens and dozens of people who wrote me, as though I was some sort of, they were just shocked. They were like, we always thought your life was perfect. You were this guy, and I have a lot of contacts. And they were like, you wouldn't believe the shit that I'm going through. And the more people that reached out to me, dozens and dozens, and I came to realize, you're all messed up. And my empathy grew tenfold. It was like, and now I look around this, everybody in this room has something that they're dealing with, some struggle that they're going through. And just because one of us, or two of us, or five of us have some perfect profile on Instagram or Facebook, it's bullshit. And I've come to realize that, but it hasn't. So now I take everything with a different angle. I now work in an entirely different field because I'm fortunate I have this huge support system and I had friends rally around me. I feel bad for the people who make posts like I made and don't have people rally around them. Think of those thousands of people. Like, I'm struggling like this and I'm privileged beyond belief. So now I have such empathy for the people who don't have that sort of support system. So I've trudged forward. I've found a totally different career that I'm actually quite happy with. It's a company that's owned by a friend of mine, and how lucky am I? Like, all this shit that I'm going through, and I still get people approaching me saying, you know, you should come work with us. And up until 2 weeks ago, I was still with the girl. But that's no longer either. And that's, I think, what I've learned is you gotta be, the reason we're not together, it didn't end horrifically or anything. But you gotta be brutally honest about what it is that you want. I feel like too many people are making decisions based on what they think other people think they should look like. What will look good on my Facebook profile, and it's not always on. And to be honest, my girlfriend and I have been together with a long time, but we don't want the same things out of life. I thought that this is who I was supposed to be with, and I convinced myself of that, but in reality, we both want very different things. So now I'm trying to ask myself every single day, is this how I want to be spending my time right now? Is this how I want to be spending my time right now? And sometimes it's very difficult, because sometimes you'll be working on something that you've been working on for 10 years, and then you go, is this what I want to be doing with my time right now? And you realize, I hate this. This is shit. And you have to make a very difficult decision to move away from that and find something else. And really what we're trying to all find is happiness. And now I manage a team of 25, and a lot of them are in their 20s, and I try to coach them and I try to help them. And I talk to them about these things, and I try to share some of this that I've learned. And I've come to realize that happiness is not a destination like I thought it was when I was 23. Because I got to 38 and realized that destination doesn't exist. And I feel that happiness is no matter where you're at. And am I working in a career right now that I'm going to be at for the next 10 years? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that every single morning, there's going to be shit things that happen during the day. There's going to be pains. But there's also going to be joys. And maybe I can't limit the pains, but I feel like happiness is this state where the joys outnumber the pains. And the nice thing is, we all have the ability to create those joys. And sometimes it can be something so small as me complimenting a coworker, or me calling one of my sales reps and saying, I thought you did an amazing job with that. And she says to me, Jeff, you have no idea how much that means. And for a moment I feel, hey, moment of joy. And we can do that stuff. And so now every day, rather than be like, this is what I'm going to be at 58 or 68, I'm just focused on that day, more joy than pain, taking her one day at a time, and I would encourage everyone else to try and do the same. And also I want you all to realize and remember that even the guy with the perfect profile that the professional photographers took pictures of and posted online and made him look like he had everything going well, it's not always going so well. So we're not alone. Let's all share our experiences so that we can realize that we're not alone in this very difficult journey. Thank you very much.